everyone and welcome to day 10 of our wonderful 30 days wild challenge here in the sunny Spain today, again like last time. So thank you so much, Laura, for sending us that fabulous video of those wonderful dolphins in Madeira. And I'm in a different part of Spain. I'm in Marbella and currently surrounded by cats. So this might be a bit of a surprise to many people, but when I think of Marbella, I think of the sun, I think of the sea, and I also think of the wonderful wild cat population that live here as well. So this right now, believe it or not, is a feral cat. Yes. Oh, maybe get a little bit too close and you get what you asked for. There we go. But this cat is one of the lovely local species. Look, that's just as cats should be. Nice when they want to be, not nice when they don't want to be. Brilliant, there we go. You're gonna let me do that? Yes, I'll maybe do it a little bit gentler this time. Got a little bit excited because it's day 10 of our 30 days wild challenge. Oh, look at him. Maybe you could pop round here and have a little bit of a closer look. So we're talking about right now the wonderful cats that live in Spain. So some people are quite surprised when I talk about cats and I am talking about wildlife, but actually cats make up a huge part of Spanish wildlife at the moment because there are lots of feral cats. Unfortunately, many of them were abandoned by Spanish people and also other people, you know, unfortunately leaving them to fend for themselves. Sometimes they get lost as well, and it's not just Spanish people, you get feral cats all over the world, unfortunately left to the wild due to us and the actions that we've taken. So I'll tell you a little bit about cats in general and also about cats in Spain. Now this cat is nuzzling Charlotte, my sister, right now, who's doing the wonderful camera work for today's 30 days wild. So really wonderful that we're able to get this on camera. Absolutely fantastic stuff indeed. So as I was saying, we've got the wonderful, I think this one's called Mr. Tom. My mother took this cat, so she met this cat over the 3 months that she's been in Spain now for, and she took this cat to a local rescue centre and she managed to pay for him to get neutered. And you'll be able to tell this by looking at his ear here. So this ear is a little bit snipped in the top right hand side there. Most cats over here, you'll be able to see this is the case on the left hand side. So maybe you'll be able to spot that on some of the cats behind me. They've also got this only on the left hand side. A little bit of a V sort of makes their ears look a little bit knobbly. And that tells you that these cats have been neutered. Because as much as I love them here in Spain, they do sometimes get seen as vermin. So cats in general, of course, we love our cats in the UK. Cats actually make up the 3rd most popular pet after fish and dogs. There comes the cat. And in America, I think it's the #1 pet. So they are definitely in our top favourite animals. They, believe it or not, are also thought to at one point have been very regal animals at one point. In fact, if you have a cat, that's probably not coming to you as much of a surprise. But in ancient Egypt, it was thought that if you hurt a cat in any way, then you would actually get killed yourself. So if you were to kill a cat, even by accident, then you were going to be killed. And they would sometimes mummify their cats as well. But now it's a very different situation. So we've got 73 different species of domestic cat. These are domestic cats as well, only they are no longer in their normal home, or what you would imagine would to be a normal domestic family home necessarily. So slightly different here. So when you're in Spain, maybe you'll come across some of these cats that have been left out and about. Now they're a very contentious issue, these cats, because they're seen, like I said, as vermin. Sometimes they traipse in and out of the accommodation that you'll find here. In fact, right now we are right next to an apartment block in Marbella in Alveria in Spain. So this leaves them a little bit unpopular because sometimes they can bring that disease and they can also bring a lot of rubbish with them as well. Sometimes they'll poo in these spaces that are public spaces. Sometimes it makes us humans not that happy with that, so sometimes that could be a bit of a problem. And also sometimes people will feed the cats. Now this isn't recommended because of lots of reasons. So if you're only on holiday for a really small period of time and you keep feeding the cats and they then get used to you feeding them, then that won't be a good thing at all, because it will therefore mean, maybe you can get a little bit closer to this cat while I'm explaining this next bit. This will sometimes mean that they will get dependent on you to be able to feed them, and then this will be a problem because it will mean that they will therefore look for you next time they look for food, and they won't be able to find you because you'll be back home in sunny England, or not so sunny England. So that can be a bit of a problem, but also because sometimes what happens is people will feed those animals and it will mean that they will eat the food in bowls, for example. People will bring out bowls and they won't take them away with them, so sometimes bits of plastic will be left behind, and that's not very sightly for lots of people who have to live here all the time. And also sometimes people will feed these animals wet food, and that will attract some of the other animals that are in the local area, sometimes which you probably wouldn't want living on your doorstep or so abundantly obviously there. Some people pay lots of money for these apartments, and to come out and see disease-ridden animals perhaps spreading lots more wildlife in your area that perhaps you wouldn't want to see sometimes makes them a little bit unpopular. There are lots of positives about wonderful cats like Mr. Tom as well. Of course, they were originally brought into society, or they originally started to domesticate themselves, I hear, from looking for some native wildlife that might be not so welcome by us humans. So they're very good at catching rodents, things like you'll find rats and also mice being really good prey animals for these wonderful animals themselves. So this can be a very welcome thing on behalf of all of us humans. I think many of us would agree with that. And also they're very cute as well, aren't they? Very cuddly, very friendly, you can see here as well. They're a very welcome face in many ways. So there's lots of good things about cats, and there are some bad things about cats as well. So I'm going to tell you what you could do maybe to help support these animals. Another thing to say actually before I do that is that sometimes birds are the victim of cats. Lots of other animals as well. Cats contribute to the deaths of billions of both reptiles, also birds, and also mammal species as well. So this can be a big problem. So if you've got a cat at home, one thing that you can do is you can make sure that your cat doesn't eat your native bird population you can put maybe a collar on your bird, on your cat rather, with a little bell, and that can make sure that when they approach the bird hears that sound and then flies away. Quite often it's actually the more injured birds, or the less able birds rather, that get attacked by cats. So sometimes that link between destruction of bird populations and cats isn't as strong as some people may think. Other things that you can do is you can take these cats to neutering centres. So that's one of the reasons why they're not seen as very popular, is because what they'll do is they'll spread, they'll grow in number, you'll get lots of kittens. Those kittens will then be fed by more people, they'll grow into bigger cats, and you end up with loads of what's called a colony of cats, or a clouder of cats, you can also call them as well. So that can mean they're not very popular in that way too. So what we need to do is control that cat population rather than culling them, which is actually illegal by private extermination here. Also some people here used to poison the cats, and this is a horrible way to die and also illegal too. So you're not allowed to do that. You can only actually remove a cat here in Spain with the permission of the local authority. You need to be contracted by them to remove them. So before you're thinking about doing that, you definitely need to have a little bit of a stronger think about that. You can take it to a local vet as well, make sure it has a health check, gets flea stuff put in it as well, so it doesn't end up being that disease-ridden cat that many people think of. And also they can check for any microchips. So vets can check for microchips on cats or dogs as well, to make sure that there isn't any owner out there, and therefore that cat isn't actually feral and would like to be returned to its family. And if you're thinking about adopting a cat as well, I mean, this is a lot easier as kittens. When they're fully grown adults, sometimes this is not a good thing at all, because they're not very good at being domesticated again, so they're quite happy living in the wild, so taking them home sometimes can be a bit of a problem. Also, I did do a little bit of research before, and it turns out that in the UK even, wild cats in other places in foreign countries can be a big problem, because then you take them home, you adopt them, and then they don't get on well, and then they end up in rescue centres in the UK as well. So apparently that adds to our thousands of populations wide of cats in those cat rescue centres at the moment, which is a bit sad and not something maybe many of us would think about. So that's all the things that some of the things that you could do anyway to protect these animals out there in the wild. Next time you're on holiday, maybe you could think of a few of those things, maybe take one of these, like this wonderful cat might swap me again, to one of those rescue centres. But I am actually allergic to cats, so I'm going to end this part of the 30 Days Wild Challenge right now, before I start becoming this horrible puffy mess that you're likely to see over the next few moments. So if you have seen these cats yourselves in Spain or in other countries around the world, do let me know. I would absolutely love to hear from you, not just about cats, but also about any other wildlife that you see out and about in your everyday life. After all, the 30 Days Challenge is supposed to tell you guys, or tell everyone, all about the wonderful world of nature, and then maybe promote that a little bit more yourselves as well. We've had a few videos so far by Rosie and Courtney as well coming up too, so hopefully we'll get all of us talking about nature a bit more. And actually next up is Emily, so I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing, Emily, and I will stay tuned for that, and I will leave you to the rest of your wonderful day no matter what you're doing. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye from me and Mr. Tom as well.